Welcome back, class. This video will discuss today's entrance ticket questions and answers, so please pay close attention so you know how to complete the assignment. And feel free to pause or rewind the video as needed. So the first question, or the first answer to your entrance ticket is, what is the foreground? And the foreground is the front space of an artwork. As depicted in this image down here, this breaks down the three different planes of a landscape. So first you have the horizon line. That's the line basically where you can't see past unless something's higher than it, like the mountain here. And then you have everything in the far back behind the horizon line is the background. Everything in the middle is the middle ground, and everything in the front is called the foreground. You would think with background and middle ground being the first two we discussed, you'd think the foreground would actually be called the front ground to follow that pattern, but it is for whatever reason called the foreground. So just keep that in mind. But the first two should be pretty obvious. So the foreground, by process of elimination, is the front space. So with the foreground, the main thing to note is that the things in the foreground should be the highest level of detail and also the largest to the viewer in a one-point perspective artwork. Even though this is not a one-point perspective artwork, I thought it was important to display the four parts of a landscape, mainly the background, middle ground, and foreground, and of course how the horizon line plays its role as well. So your first answer is the front space of an artwork. That is the foreground. So moving on to the second question, which is what is the background? The background, which is pretty obvious, is the backspace of an artwork. So you can see this little bubble here that says background, which is the sky and the mountains in the back distance. And it says the background shows items that are in the back of an artwork. Again, very obvious, very self-explanatory. But you have your two answers for your entrance ticket, but there are still just a few more things to discuss just to make sure we tie in our understanding of everything and why we're even doing this. So this is not in your entrance ticket, but it is just as important that we understand that the foreground, the question is, why does the foreground need to have the highest level of detail? And the answer is because the things closest to us, we can see them most easily. So if this is a realistic perspective artwork, the things that are closest we can see most easily because they're so close in our field of vision, and the things in the distance are harder to see, so you can't see as many details. So something as simple as this, I don't even know what this is, this fence or this guardrail or something in the distance, you can barely tell or see what that is. Whereas in this building, you see every last little crack, every last little feature, wood plank, things like that. And even as you go back to the other buildings right here, all these buildings are much more simply detailed. They're less detailed because they're further away. So the things in the front should always have the highest level of detail. And then lastly, which is the same question in reverse, is why do objects become less detailed as they get closer to the background? And of course the answer is because they are further away and harder to see. So just as you can see the high level of detail of this house and garage, you can see this house, the detail is very minimal, as well as some of the other features like the trees and things become less and less detailed than the things that are up front in the foreground. So that is it for your entrance ticket questions. Please make sure at the conclusion of this video to complete your entrance ticket and then continue working on your final project, which is due next class. So make sure you're taking this time to work as diligently as possible and take this project as far as you can. Please message me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing your projects, and I hope you all have a great class. Okay, bye everyone.